Hi, we would like to welcome you to episode 56 of the Christopher and Chanel Talk Show. My name is Christopher, and this is my co-host,
Chanel Samus.
In this segment of our show, we're going to do our weekly book review and look at a book that I read recently called The Wisdom of Solomon. One of the odd things about The Wisdom of Solomon is that it's an anonymous work. We don't actually know who wrote it, yet the writer adopts the persona of King Solomon. This type of writing is called pseudepigraphy and was common in the ancient world. For the convenience of this broadcast, we're going to refer to the writer as Pseudo-Solomon. Modern biblical scholars believe that Pseudo-Solomon was most likely an Alexandrian Jew, and that this book was written in Greek. Some scholars have argued against this, but their arguments have not proved to be very successful. As we've learned in our classes, the idioms and syntax of this Greek composition reflect a mixing of cultures and languages during the time in which the Wisdom of Solomon was written. Chanel, how are you doing today?
Good.
It's difficult to pinpoint the exact date of composition, but the broad consensus is that the Wisdom of Solomon was written somewhere between 100 BCE and 50 CE. Some have proposed that it might have been written during the reign of Gaius Caligula in 37 to 41 CE. The reason for this is that there's a strong undercurrent of persecution toward Alexandrian Jews during that time. And there's also a significant number of words and phrases that are used in the text that are not found before 1st century CE. Chanel, would you like a drink of tea today?
Okay.
Delicious.
Delicious.
A number of variations of the book's overall structure have been proposed. For the sake of this episode, we're going to look at the book as having two distinct divisions. In the first discourse of the book, it takes place in these verses. The first discourse begins with an appeal towards kings and rulers to follow and listen to the necessity of wisdom as being an indispensable part of life. The wisdom is described as a cosmic principle of divine goodness, dwelling on the throne of glory next to God, as well as one that knows and designs all things as they manifest into existence. A little over halfway through the first discourse, the wisdom of King Solomon is introduced, and he narrates how his life has been guided solely by this mystical wisdom. In the second discourse, in these chapters, a history of Israel's redemption occurs from Egypt and other enemies. Pseudo-Solomon's focus is on wisdom's role in delivering Egypt, from the beginning of Adam all the way to Joseph. The Exodus is a theme for the remainder of the book and refers to the faithful who die at the hands of tormentors. Pseudo-Solomon writes about Israel's historical exodus as a passage from death to life. It's a prime biblical portrait of wisdom, of what wisdom is doing in the lives of Alexandrian Jews who are being persecuted. Pseudo-Solomon is writing about what is their very own exodus and encouraging readers who could be facing the possibility of real death to stay Jewish. The purpose of the Wisdom of Solomon is to support Alexandrian Jews who are facing persecution and encouraging them to resist the dangers of adultery in a Hellenistic culture. We want to thank you for joining us in this segment of our book review. Next week, Chanel is going to be doing her exciting book review on
Jesus calling.
Thank you for joining us.